On Wednesday, we visit with the mayors, and Bobby Gutierrez here this morning. Mayor Bryan, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Scott?
Good. You were not at the council meeting last night. Is there any truth to the rumor? It's because you couldn't back out of your driveway because of the traffic on William Joe Bryan.
Well, that could be a little bit of it. It was that way this morning for sure.
Is that right?
We're hoping today. After our last conversation here, I guess 2 weeks ago, we talked about what was going on William Joe Bryan and why there's no workers out there. I'm getting the calls. Larry Young Construction is getting the calls. TxDOT's getting the calls. And for once, it's not any one of our fault. It was Optimum. And I said, just please go and call them, let them know. But they were supposed to get their lines off the poles. They are scheduled to come off today. I could not get out of my driveway. I had to go down Ursuline, so I didn't even get to go down William Joe Bryan. So hopefully when on my way back, I will see, Optimum trucks taking lines off the BTU poles so we can get those poles moved off and start construction again. It costs us literally millions when we have to deploy those people and move them somewhere else, bring them back. Larry Young Construction is going to be out a lot. Of course, they're going to come after TxDOT. They're going to come after the city of Bryan when they should be going after Optimum. It's the same thing that's happened on South College, the same thing that happened on 29th
Pioneer back
Street.
then, is that right? Yeah.
It was Suddenlink
Was
back
it
then.
Suddenlink back then? Okay, same thing.
So
Okay.
It's been a pattern of history.
Yeah.
They called me after my conversation on the radio and said we need to be making sure they're meeting together, which I confirmed with our staff. We have been meeting together. So it's got to be the will. It's not just on us, and it's not just on them. We've been working on that project, designing since 2018, 19, and here we are, the implementation phase where we're doing it, and they still hadn't got their stuff together.
Gotcha. While you were not there, I'm sure you know, council awarded the $5.6 million contract Midtown Park without discussion last night. Can you tell me remind folks exactly what that $5.6 million is for?
You know what? I was not at that meeting. The
dam and spillway is what I had
yes.
understood.
So that is part of the project that we've done before. This was always we have to do to get the waters of Texas and the engineering part of it. We have to redo the dam, and we're going to raise it. It has to expand it and everything else. So we got to keep that. We have a water well, so we can make it a constant lake. We have the boardwalk going in right now, but that part of it has to go. That's been part of the plan forever. We just had to award that contract.
Now, and speaking of that, also you approved a development deal across Highway 21 from Rellis, I think, purchased some water from Welborn Water. Is that correct?
Yes, we did. We're going to expand. There's going to be some new development that's going to go on the north side of Highway 21. So we're doing that, expanding that out. I know that Welborn Water doesn't have some of the capacity. It just makes more sense for us to do that. We'll be able to recoup those costs, as we get the ratepayers going on, as we develop all that property. We all know that Rellis is a force of its own right now, and all the momentum we have. We just came back from Washington, and all the talk in Washington was around, Bryan and Rellis and Texas A&M.
Well, glad to hear that. Bobby Gutierrez, Mayor Bryan here. Now, last night, of course, you weren't there, but missed a public comment on the East Loop. An opponent claimed that the Bryan Council could stop that.
I don't think anybody can stop the East Loop development. I think there's one of those things that, we're going to have something out there. I get it. I mean, I truly get it. When somebody's being affected by it, it's going to be affected. You live out, you buy a place out in the country, you want to live out in the ETJ. But as growth happens. And as we talked about, there's stuff that's going on in Rellis right now, the stuff that's being driven by the state of Texas, by our national government, for defense, for semiconductors, for power, for all the things that we need as not only as a state and a city, but as a country. They're happening, and we've got to be ahead of it. Now, these are 30 years out there. We're going to be in a 10-year at least design process. They've got to figure out how they're going to buy those things. We got to figure out where, or they have to figure out. The engineers are going to figure out where's the best place to put it, what makes the most sense, feasible, and then it's just things are going to happen. Whether it's going to be the I-14 or the 214 or the East Loop, those projects are going to happen. We don't have the capacity on the east side of town to handle that growth.
Do you foresee that would be an agenda item for any discussion on the council in the future?
I don't see. That's the ETJ. That really doesn't have anything to do with us. I know the what is the Metropolitan?
Yeah, the multi-trend planning, MPO.
Yes, MPO. Mm-hmm. The MPO deals with that stuff. That's not a board that I'm on.
Sure.
I think Mayor Pro Tem Edge is on that board. They spend a lot of time on it. It's not a perfect science, but really going to try to do it as best they can. When there's a lot of hits that they put on the judge and they put on Commissioner Condola. This is not them. This is the engineering deal that's going to be done through TxDOT, through thought-driven process, and people will be affected at some point. It's just the way that it happens.
Sure. You did attend, though, I know the joint workshop with the Bryan Business Council. Where are we with that? How's things going?
The Bryan Business Council, I've said it a million times. I think it's probably the most productive board that we have in the city of Bryan anyway. I was on that board for several years, and it's, they're thinking 100 years out there. They're thinking of how do we take the best use, how do we preserve and protect pieces of property that we know are going to be catalyst properties that, we don't want them to turn into, pick whatever the worst thing you can think of in your mind, pick whatever that is, and that's what it is. So we wanted to make something that makes sense within an area that we're redeveloping and that we're spending millions of dollars in to redevelop. And that's what those guys do. They go out there and think about their business people that think about that and look at it 100 years, and we do it 10 years at a time.
Finally today, Scott Schaefer was with us, a new city councilman in College Station last Friday. And one of the things he really wants to zero in on while he's on council is Hensel Park. I mean, that's a shared property right there. That's right on the boundary of these cities, and it would be a good collaborative effort for Bryan and College Station to get together. What kind of vision do you think Bryan can put together to be a part of that?
Well, I think we want to be in that process. I mean, I've talked to, Councilman Schaefer now, for several times before he was on council. We met on that project. We have a direct project that's going to be across the street for it, basically connected to Hensel Park. We want to make sure that whatever we do is purpose-driven to what they do, purpose-driven to what Texas A&M does. If we can see value in it, which we do see value in it, we have that North and Northgate project that I'm sure you're familiar with and what we want it to be. That just ties right into it. And it kind of ties, from Century Square to Hensel Park to North and Northgate into Northgate. And it's truly, that's where we become one city. If we can all get together on that and figure out how do we monetize it for both of us, because it is on the line. I've said it a million times, nobody knows where the boundaries are. Us old people know where the boundaries are. We know where they are, but it affects everybody. And the kids and the people that come in from out of town, they could care less if it's Bryan or College Station. They're just going to find a spot to go, and they don't know where it is. They're just going. But it's up to us to act as together as one community. It's up to us to go, you know what? We need to make it happen. We need to do. It's a seamless transition for them. It should be seamless for us. It's not about who wins or who loses. It's about how do we collectively get together, make it better for everybody. And I think that's my way of thinking. I hope that's the way that the rest of my council thinks. We think the same thing. Do we want wins? Absolutely. Does College Station want wins? Absolutely. But we both win together when we're working together and when we're talking about these things, and it's trying not to say, okay, well, who's going to get the better end of this? Because at every deal, somebody will probably get a better end, and it's probably unintentional. It's just going to happen. But the next deal, it could be flipped the other way, and the next one could be flipped the other way. But if we're just cynical about them, then we're never going to do anything. So hopefully we can get this. I'm with Scott 100%. How do we make that the best possible park there is?
All right. Anything else for us this morning?
No, I just think, we all have a chance to do anything. We can be anyone we want. I just hope everybody practice just being kind to everybody.
There you go. Bobby Gutierrez, Mayor of Bryan. Thanks for the time this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.